Hey Internet, Dustin here from Dr. Cool Sex with special guest Domenico Monzolillo.
Nope.
No? Said it wrong?
No, yep.
You said it. Say it.
Domenico Manzolillo.
Dom does some improv with me, does some sketch, and I'm invited him to do a recap for Breaking Bad, Season 3, Episode 2, Caballo sin Nombre.
So how'd you feel about episode 2?
Episode 2, I enjoyed. I think it furthered a lot of the action, definitely, but definitely set up what's going to happen this season. It definitely set up with the cousins.
Which we don't know they're called the cousins.
Except we listen to the podcast, you do know.
We're nerds and we listen to the podcast.
Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, I've heard on other forums they're called the twins, but we know more.
Yes.
They're called cousins.
They're called the cousins, and we believe they are Tuco's cousins because they went and saw Tuco's Tio.
But what's a Ouija board doing at a nursing home?
No. Old people, their friends died, they want to communicate with their friends, so how do they communicate with them? They don't want to have a seance.
Gotcha.
They use a Ouija board. The cousins seemed kind of like the most important thing this episode. They got to Walter White's house, and they were there with an axe, ready to
gift him with an axe.
Maybe gift him, but I was going to presume that they were going to kill him.
Wasn't just the cleaning man calls Saul, which calls Gustavo, which calls the twins.
And we see Gustavo in some sort of factory, was it the chicken factory, I presume, of some kind. Or maybe it was a meth factory, we don't know. And so this episode was kind of about Walt trying to get his family back. And I think as soon as Gustavo talks to him, he's going to find out he can't get his family back without working through Gustavo.
Well, I just wish Walter would just say, hey, I did this for you, Skylar, and just... Because basically Skylar just knows that he deals drugs. But she doesn't know all of it. Just like, wouldn't any loving mother or wife also would just understand him? Because she was by his side throughout this whole ordeal with trying to fight cancer and trying to survive. And all of a sudden you shut him out so harshly just because you find out he dealed or sold or actually made produced meth.
Well, Skylar knows that her brother-in-law is a DEA agent and feels that she cannot do anything. And she hasn't told anybody else anything. And Saul brings up a great point, is that she won't tell anyone because she fears blowback.
Yeah.
She knows that Hank will lose his job. Hank's wife will look horrible. She will look horrible for having...
Kids are...
Her kids will lose... They'll lose the house. You know, the DEA will come in and take everything. So Hank is pretty sure... I'm not Hank. Saul is pretty sure that they're safe and she's not going to talk. I mean, I think Hank will find out by the end of the season. I think Hank will find out exactly what Walter's been up to and what Walt has done. And it's going to be a big turning point in Hank's character. He's going to either decide, I need to do something about this, or this is my family, I need to preserve my family. Right now, Walt Jr. is the most real character, and he's the character I think the audience feels the most for right now. Because he's this kid trapped in between this fighting parents. And you can't help but feel for the kid, because he doesn't know what's going on. He's not told anything. And he has such a love for his dad, and this love back for his dad, that he isn't going by Flynn anymore. He's going by Walt Jr. again. Let's talk about Jesse.
He gets the house back.
He first goes to Saul, counts all his money, sees how much he has, and then says, Saul, I've got a job for you.
You're wondering what he's up to. Well, the first visit that Jesse makes to his parents, I thought, was to see if they loved him at all.
In a lot of ways, they don't.
Yeah, and that's why he comes...
Completely written off. Saul is a brilliant lawyer.
Yeah, as sleazy as he is.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And Bob Odenkirk plays him perfectly. The scene where he brings up the meth, he says, I'm going to pay you half of the asking price. And they're like, are you kidding me? And then he brings up the meth lab and totally calls them out on it, and they're forced to. They have to sell it to him. And then that last scene where Jesse walks in, and they're like, you can't go in there. He's like, what are you talking about? It's my house, Mom and Dad.
The parents, I feel like, have gone through a lot with Jesse. So, like, of course, Jesse's our hero in this show, but you still want to side with the parents?
I mean, it's just like Dexter. You shouldn't be rooting for Dexter in the show Dexter because he's a serial killer. But you always are because he's doing things that you feel like are justified.
I didn't want to bring up another show, but wouldn't you root for a Dexter in real life? If there's a guy killing off...
I mean, I feel like you would want to, but in real life, he would be arrested if anybody found out. Because everything he's doing is illegal.
Right. Okay.
And I'm rooting for Jesse, but everything he's doing is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for Walt. Everything he's doing is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be curious to see what other characters we see break bad in this season. I think we'll see more than we're expecting.
Yeah.
My prediction by the end of the season, Hank will break bad.
I would love that.
Have you ever seen a pizza that big?
That box was huge.
Have you ever delivered a pizza? Have you seen
No.
a pizza box?
Standard is 18 inches.
How big do you think that pizza was?
That was 5 feet long.
No, come on.
That was holding it like this.
It was probably a yard in diameter, right?
That's a little, yes.
It was a huge pizza.
Yeah.
And then the trajectory and the toss
was beautiful. The pizza did remain a little too much intact when it fell on the roof, but that's fine.
I mean, I trust your expertise there.
Yeah.
And then when we saw it the second time, when Walt returns to the house and we see it again, the cheese had slid off a little bit and definitely dried up.
Right.
Would you still eat a slice of that pizza off the roof?
Off the roof? No.
No? I'd consider it if I was really drunk or hungry.
When you're drunk, anything goes.
That's true.
Give me half of that pie.
What do you hope to see next week? What questions do you hope to get answered?
Man, I'd love to see more of the cousins. Just like spend a good 10 minutes on that.
I'll be curious to see what Walter Jr. decides to do, if he's going to maybe split his time between his mom and dad. Because I don't think Skyler's going to be able to stop him, because he's got a mind of his own.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a good 5 or 10 minutes on seeing what Walter Jr. maybe finds or discovers or searches for.
I predict by the end of this season, Walter Jr. will know what his dad has done.
Yeah. I'd like to see more throwing of pizza.
I would like to see more of climbing under houses.
Yes. More explosions, of course.
Yep. I think next week we will see Gustavo and Walt have another meeting.
Of course.
And whether the cousins are there or not, we don't know. I don't think they will be. I don't think Walt will meet the cousins yet. I think he'll meet Gustavo and he'll say yes to the $3 million.
Yeah.
Or it may be a different deal. He may get a worse deal because of what they know he's done or he's been involved with.
Gustavo could just kill off Walter, couldn't he? If you want to do it after the last.
Nobody
deal.
wants to kill Walt because Walt is the brilliant cook. I mean, they either have Walt, who cooks this beautiful crystal clear blue meth, or you have Jesse, who tries to put chili powder in his meth, and that's his signature.
Yeah. I have never tried it.
I love meth. It's great.
What?
I've never done meth. We do not condone the use of any sort of drugs or the throwing of pizzas unless you're making a pizza and you're tossing it. Do people do that?
In competitions.
Really? Sometimes they do it at pizza places.
Well, how they never throw it really up in the air unless it's for show.
Okay, it's just
because you don't need to. It's just you just do that really. That's all you need to do.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Would you like to plug anything? Any websites or any shows?
I'll be at the Laugh Barn in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, next Thursday. Come on down.
So thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad you're watching Breaking Bad. I hope you don't break bad.
I think I already have, Dustin.
Ooh. We'll see you next week. I don't know who my guest will be, but it'll probably be someone cooler than Dom.